Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode of the Enthusiastic Life podcast.
This is an intro that I never wanted to do. Yeah.
We have a very special guest on this episode of the Enthusiastic Life podcast. I'm Brendan Walsh, your host. I am so glad that you're all here. Grateful for you being here today. Our guest today is one Mr. Ryan Dewan.
The guest is me. I'm doing the intro and I'm the guest. So
How does it feel?
Weird. Yeah, it feels weird. Like I know when I go to edit this, it's gonna be really weird to just cut to this, but then I'm just cutting to us sitting across the table, talking to each other.
Yeah.
But I had a blast doing it. You know,
it was fun.
Yeah, it's cool to be like the guy behind the camera and kind of, you know, producing the podcast every week, and then sit in the seat that I know all the guests sit in, and it's like it's a weird like, you know, role reversal exercise, but I had a blast doing it.
Yeah, it was great having you. Thank you for filling in a pinch.
Happy to.
And yeah, it was a good time. So Ryan and I both hope that you enjoy Ryan Dewan on this episode. And if you don't, then, you know,
I'll go back to behind the camera.
enjoy our episode with one producer extraordinaire, Ryan Dewan.
So I think I mean, the nice thing is we can always change it, but we should pick a category that we should pick a category not based on what we think the podcast is, but we should pick a category based on what we think our type of listener would be looking for.
So that's,
you know what I mean?
Like, we could go to like people that we know listen, or view, and ask them.
Oh, yes. Well, we should put a poll on our Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
See, we needed a brainstorming pod.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. See,
we would have never came to that conclusion. Right. Yeah.
Look at us.
I know.
I'm so proud of us.
I know.
Putting in the work.
Maybe we should do a brainstorming pod like once a month.
I don't know how entertaining people would find it, but
yeah. Well, it's not. It's literally just for. I mean, I guess, you know, maybe there's some people that will watch this one, but it's mostly just for creative breakthroughs.
Yeah.
Internally.
Well, we should start the podcast officially. So
yes, yeah.
Ryan Dewan.
Yes.
Welcome to the podcast, Enthusiastic Life.
It's great to be here. I'm always here, but it's great to be on. It's great to be on this side. It feels kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
I'm always here, but you're lurking in the background.
Yeah, I just had to make sure we're actually going. Yeah, we
are.
We're yes,
good?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so you know, you want to stay on the microphone.
Yes, yeah. iPhone's distance. Yes, yeah. This could be the worst sounding one. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be embarrassing if we were the worst one.
Oh yeah.
So to stick to our format, do you mind first introducing yourself?
Yes.
To our audience.
So my name's Ryan Dewan. I run a small and very modest media company in Royal Oak. We started out
that is called
Wave Media. We started in 2018, so been going strong for 7 years now, and it's seen a lot of different, you know, changes throughout the past 7 years. Mostly what we do is video production for brands, companies, a lot of social content. Not that that's, you know, what we set out wanting to do. It's just been by supply and demand. And that's what everybody wants these days. And I have a wife, beautiful wife, and 2 small kids at home. And I grew up playing golf. I played golf in college, and thought that that's maybe where my production career would be like media / golf. And now that's really popular, but like 7 years ago it wasn't. And so that's how I just got into, you know, doing this line of work. And the thing that I like about it is we don't really have a niche of like, you know, we create content for like this type of business, or we do sports content, and I see how that would be helpful, but I like kind of the unknown of like every month, every quarter, every year is kind of a new journey for the business. And it really is like you get pulled in a lot of different directions, which I think for some people would get frustrating and like hard to forecast. But I like it because I've got to meet a lot of great people along the way and work on a lot of projects that I probably would not have worked on if I just stuck to, one niche or one category. And that's actually how I met you. And that's, we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast, if the business wasn't fluid like that.
So our audience might be wondering why you're our guest for this episode.
It's a great question.
And unfortunately we had a guest not show up. And, while we've talked about doing kind of like a person on the street and kind of grabbing just someone off the cuff and interviewing them, we thought it would be fun to have you on. So glad we could do this.
I knew this day was going to come. I knew exactly how it was going to happen too. I knew it was going to be a day when I was unprepared, and I knew I wasn't going to be on the podcast. So, but I think, you're going to get a very authentic,
it's best off the cuff.
Yes, it's going to be very off the cuff. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've been on a podcast other than doing like the intros and
you're going to get the real enthusiastic life experience.
That's right. Yeah.
So with that in mind, our origin story.
That's right.
Do you recall how we met?
I would love to hear like your perspective too. My perspective is I met you at Josh's shop. Josh is one of my clients and has become a really good friend and business mentor. He owns a men's custom clothing shop in Royal Oak, and I shoot all the content for them. It was like one of my first, if not first, it was like my second day on the job for Josh. And he had an event where him and Todd had a bunch of clients come in, bring a friend, have a cup of coffee, make a shirt type of thing, like almost like a networking event for their clients. And you were one of the people there, and we got to talking, and you said you wanted to do some content for your business. And I'm giving you like the cliff notes, but I think I told you that I thought insurance would be really boring to do the content for. And you agreed, and then we like shelved it, but we stayed in touch and talked about it for a while. And then I pitched you the podcast idea, but I knew like there's so many of them, and like we don't want to just do another podcast just to do one,
even though we kind of are, but that's okay.
But I liked the idea of like, you're a busy guy, it's efficient. So for people that don't know how we record the podcast, we do it once a month, and we batch like 3 or 4 guests in a row, schedule them all on a certain day, and then we'll set up shop and have everyone come in. And Brendan is a trooper, and he'll do like 3 episodes back to back to back. And then we edit them and release them weekly. But originally, we just wanted to do the podcast for the social clips, for your personal brand to have more visual content. And I thought, well, this is a great way to do this, and we get a piece of long form content out of it. And I don't know how you feel, but I feel like you've actually really enjoyed the long form more.
Oh, absolutely.
Now that we do it,
the short form is
it's
more
like
kind of like an ancillary thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was at Joshua Gold.
Yep.
So we were there. We shout out to Josh Brush. And Todd Dwyer.
Yeah.
Todd the tailor.
Yes.
There was this cool young handsome guy with a cool mustache and glasses with a camera. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then we talked on the phone, and I was asking about what you did. And I was like, oh man, I've always wanted to do video content. And I remember us scheduling another time where we were doing brainstorming about this. And you asked the question, have you ever thought about a podcast? And I remember saying, I have always wanted to do a podcast. So it's worked out great.
Especially like looking back, I don't know. I did not know you as well as I know you now, but like, now I can't even imagine not doing a podcast, like it's such a perfect format for you. Have you like, not even just people but like your friends come in. Josh said this one time, and it's like reframed the way that I think about business and podcasting, but like, I just love this. But Josh, when he was apprenticing in Singapore, for a tailor there, and he said this older man that was running the tailor shop, like, literally his friends would just come in the store, and he would just hang out with them and make them cool clothes all day. And it didn't feel like work at all. It just felt like him like shooting the shit with like a friend that he hasn't seen in a while. And like, oh, by the way, they got like a cool outfit out of it. And he was like, I loved that. And that's what made me want to do this the rest of my life. That's kind of how I've started to think about my business, but also like with the podcast, like, yeah, it's work and like we get content out of it. But if you can just have people that you like having a conversation with and come in and have like, you know, a productive and like fluid conversation and then get the content out of it, like why not have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super fun. These days never feel like work for me because we're just having fun people on and having really cool conversations. I can't speak for you because you're, recording, so I don't know how enjoyable.
The only time it feels like work is when I'm lugging all the gear into the elevator and then like setting it up and then taking it down at the end. But like the 3 hours in between, I'm just like sitting in this chair with a cup of coffee and listening to you guys have a conversation. I get to listen to the podcast before anyone else does.
It's true.
And live.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And
we've got to get like turn the tables on you and have like a camera on you so we can see behind the scenes.
You imagine if we had a producer camera and it's just like in the corner and it's just like me literally just sitting there the whole time with a cup of coffee.
Just a live shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I take some notes, but like, yeah, most of the time I'm just taking it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I was going to say like, I didn't expect ever to be like on air for the podcast. So I think the first few we were doing and I was like just kind of sitting there like paying attention, but also you're like constantly anxious of like, oh, is this camera? We have 3 cameras and just the 2 microphones, but I'm like, is this camera still going? Is this one still going? Is the audio sounding good? And you asked me, you're like, you want to come in and help me do an intro about the guest? And I'm like, I didn't even think to like write any notes down or like half pay attention for the podcast. And so I was like terrified for that. And then,
really?
Yeah, I was just like, well, a guest, you don't know how often they're going to come on. And so I don't want to be like the first thing that someone hears on a podcast and it's like terrible. And it wasn't, but like, that's pretty much like the prelude to the podcast is like you and I talking. And I did not know that was going to be the case, but
and we did. So there was a one recording day where you couldn't be there because it was your grandpa's 84th birthday.
Yeah.
And shout out grandpa.
Yeah.
And Grandpa Bob. Love it. And so we had another producer here who's filling in. Noah.
Yeah.
And so I was doing I just by default started doing the intros and outros by myself. And a friend of mine, Ted Rusinoff, was like, dude, where's Ryan? Why isn't Ryan on the intros anymore? And I'm like, and Ted is a super listener and super sharer. He's amazing. Like he posts episodes to group chats that we're on. He's like, guys, you should listen to this or check out this clip. Like he is.
Love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. But he's like, Ryan needs to be back on.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. Listen to your fans.
Yeah.
Especially your super fans.
Yeah. No, it's fun because I don't have any other, like we used to do podcasts. For us, like it was never, like a service that we set out to provide. The first podcast we ever did, a company asked us like, hey, can you do a podcast? They were an existing client. And like, like a young, dumb entrepreneur, I would just said yes, even though I'd never done a podcast before and didn't own one single piece of equipment. And then
we
went
can absolutely do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I was like, I can do the camera part of it, and like, how hard can audio be? I have no idea. And so we went out, bought all the equipment, set it all up for the client to record the first podcast. I think we only ever did like 4 episodes, and they decided they didn't want to do a podcast anymore. And so I had all this like podcast equipment that I just invested in. And during COVID, like it got used a little bit. I think COVID, like a lot of people started a podcast that like maybe shouldn't have, and we talk about that. Yeah. But it was good. Like it kept us afloat in like a time where business normally would have been kind of slow because we weren't going to places shooting things a lot. But we would help people set up and do podcasts, and that bubble kind of faded, and I just had all this equipment sitting around, and like I have not really been doing any podcasts.
And so this got the chance to dust it off.
This like revitalized my love for doing podcasts.
Nice.
And it's the only podcast that I do right now. And so it's like, for me, it's really fun. And like I've had like, a lot has changed in the podcast world in just probably the last 4 years since COVID. And so I've got to learn like new tools, new ways people are doing things. So like a lot of times from the production side, I'm experienced, but from the distribution side, I'm kind of going through it as like, a beginner again, which is fun. And it kind of like makes you appreciate it and makes you really love it again.
So I just had a thought.
Yeah.
Because if you're there, and you mentioned earlier you might have a question for somebody.
Yeah.
We should give you a microphone. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts that have producers that can chime in.
I have another microphone.
I think we should have it just in case,
Yeah.
right? So that if you,
that would
if
be
you have
cool.
a really good idea
Yeah.
or a question that you wanted to
Yeah.
chime in.
Sometimes I'm
Or
like,
if we're going crazy long, you're like, guys, we need to wrap this up.
no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like the producer guy that people like groan and they're like, oh, he's cutting in, you know? But no, it would be cool to like have like a producer's corner where I could like pitch a question. Cause like sometimes you listen to the whole podcast and I'm like, it's probably a question you would ask, but you just get lost in the shuffle of conversation. And then all of a sudden I'm giving you like the 5-minute warning and you're like, okay, we got to wrap up. It would be cool. I don't know, like, cause I like ending on, you know, what are you grateful for or what's bringing you joy? I love that that's kind of like the soft ending of every podcast and people, it's like an easy question for them and they just get to talk about life. So I don't know if it would, like how we'd have to figure it out where it would go. Probably towards the end, but I don't want it to be like the last thing, you know?
No, but
like,
I think you could throw it in at any time.
we could always edit it into
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you haven't always been in media.
No.
So you initially were doing golf.
Yep.
And then what was your job? What was your career before media?
I am like I think it's kind of fun to live life this way, but it's going to stress a lot of people out. I'm not a planner, you know,
Okay.
like I don't know what.
Is your wife a planner?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Dewans are late to a lot of things. And we're like constantly looking at the calendar, like, oh, what do we got to do today? That's like another thing that stresses me out. Side topic. Cause like I'm the oldest of 7 kids. And my parents had 7 kids, and I remember for a good chunk of my childhood not having cell phones. And so, like, how the hell did people back then know, like, this kid's got baseball practice,
Right.
this kid has a play practice, this kid's going to soccer, you know, like, all in any given day,
I can tell you.
and not have a calendar on their phone to tell them, like, what time they had to get kids to certain places.
So I feel like my mom, it wasn't that long ago that she still had one of these.
Yeah.
But there are these massive desktop calendars that showed the whole month.
Yeah.
And that would have your stuff on there.
Mm-hmm.
So she has like a monthly planner where she, like when I ask her if she can help out with the kids or take them somewhere, she goes back to her, you know, she's got a smartphone, but she doesn't really know
Does she
how to
still use the?
She doesn't use the massive one.
Yeah.
But she has like a month-to-month planner that she puts stuff in.
Yeah.
So yeah, things would go in like people's paper planners.
Yeah.
But then like I'm telling you, these were like 3 feet by 4 feet. I mean,
Yeah.
these things are huge. And when you were done with the month, you just tore off that page and go down to the next month, and it would have a square for every day. And
See-
you put stuff like it would be like the time and what you were going to.
Maybe it's just a different mindset back then, but I feel like things still had to fall through the cracks or get missed, even on a paper calendar.
I don't think
People
so.
were just more diligent back then and less.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Also, I remember growing up, my parents didn't really go to as much. Like they didn't go
Yeah.
to things.
Yeah.
Like I remember being on my own for most things.
If you missed something or if you just missed something, do you think people were more understanding back
I
then?
didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember having a very full schedule and I just knew when everything was.
Yeah.
But it was mostly, I mean, back then though, it was stuff after school. So it was
Right.
like from after school, I'm going to go to football practice. So I'm going to go to
Right.
choir. I'm going to go to, you know, whatever. There was always, it was just you're going from school to that.
Yeah. So I would not have survived, but we're terrible planners. When I was graduating high school, I still did not know what I wanted to study in college, which I think for the most part is okay. Like I think a lot of people get into college and they change degrees or career paths. But I literally had no clue. Like I was really into sports. I liked media. I was actually going to go to DePaul and do the sports media program there. But I got a phone call in the midnight hour. It was literally a month before graduation from a coach in North Carolina, Belmont Abbey College, a small Division II college in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he was like, hey, we had a couple guys pull out. We have an open roster spot. Would you want to come play on the golf team? And I was like, yes. And he was like, do you want to come like visit the campus? I was like, no, like I don't even need to. Yeah, I have no plans and like
Playing college golf.
yeah, I'll be there. I promise. And
How did he find you?
it's a great question. Only thing I can think of is I sent out maybe not 1,000, but like hundreds of emails, probably like a good few hundred, 500 emails to college coaches across the country, being like we didn't really have recruiting platforms then. Like it was like you kind of knew, maybe your high school coach would recommend you to someone that he knew or something like that. We did have like tournaments. So like in college or in high school golf, you have your season, which is in the spring, where you just compete for your high school team. But then like AAU or like anything else for like basketball or travel hockey, there's like travel, like tournaments that you can play throughout the summer or fall. And you would go around and just compete as an individual. So my high school golf team was really, really good. Like I was, my senior year, there was 5 guys that started in golf. You only play 5 guys. And so you might have 10 guys on the team and like half the guys don't ever play. So the 5 guys ahead of me all went and played Division I golf. I was the 6th man and I like rarely played. And I was a good golfer, but they were just like way better than me. And so I didn't have a lot of experience or like scores to go off of to like, show a college coach or anything. And you don't really go and like try out, I guess, unless you're going to walk on to a team. But I would play in these tournaments throughout the summer where you could just go compete as an individual. And I always posted pretty good scores. I was probably like, I don't know, top 50 for like the state of Michigan, like high school golfers.
Okay, for scope and reference.
Yeah.
When you're posting good scores in high school, what are you posting?
So in high school, like 70s, like if you shoot in the 70s consistently, like you're usually starting on your high school team. And I would shoot anywhere from like between 70 and 80. I would say my average score in high school was probably like 77 or something like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And especially,
I'm not even sniffing that.
No. If I go out and shoot 77 now, I'm pumped. Like, yeah. Cause now I'm like, I don't practice, I like hardly play anymore. But so only thing I can think of is like maybe a coach that I had sent. So I would send out like an email like, hey, my name's Ryan Dewan. I'm a senior at Detroit Catholic Central High School. I have no scores to show you because I never play. But like, I would love to come play at your university.
Like, oh yeah, we got it.
Yeah. And, no, like a few coaches would hit me back and be like, thanks for reaching out, but like we don't have any spots open, or, we're looking at recruiting like 2 years from now, and I was just behind the times. I don't know how he found me. Maybe like another coach like referred me like, hey, I have this guy that sent me an email, or he saw like some tournament scores from like the summer tournaments.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of, but I never asked him. And so I went and played there. And no idea like what I wanted to study. It's a small liberal arts college, so there's not like a lot. There isn't a sports media program, so I like couldn't do what my first thought was. So I just got like a general business degree, and I was like, I'll figure it out down the road. But I truly, and I mean this, I only went there to play golf. Like it was the only reason that I went there, and it was the only thing I was really thinking about when I was there was like just hanging out with my friends and then playing golf, and like school was like secondary. And until I became a senior and I realized like I was never going to be a professional golfer. Yeah. And I was like, shit, like I have like 10 months to figure this out. And then, so after golf, I remember I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like applying and interviewing at like a bunch of intro, like like with a general business degree, it was a lot of like marketing and sales jobs. And I was like, oh, this just sounds like so painful. Like, I don't want to do this. And one of my mentors who lives in Michigan, rest in peace. He actually just passed away last year. Great guy. He owned a plumbing company in Milford, Michigan. It's called Solomon Plumbing. And I would come home during like he went to my parents' church growing up, so we knew him through there. And on like Christmas break or summer vacation, I would work in the shop for him, and I would like sort the fittings from the truck when guys would come back from job sites, and I would like clean out the warehouse and make a couple bucks an hour. And I remember he told me, he was like, hey, the trades, I know you didn't go to trade school, but it's a pretty, reliable career, and we make good money, and it might not be your first choice, but if you don't know what you want to do, I would recommend, coming and working in the office for a little while. Maybe you can kind of learn the ropes of how the business works and be on the business end of construction. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool, And I got there, and then I remember the person I reported to the first day was kind of like, what the hell are you doing in the office? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is, my first day, like I'm pumped to be here. And he's like, oh no, if you get hired by this company, like you have to go work 2 years in the field, even if you want to come work in the office. Otherwise, no one's going to listen to you. No one will ever respect you if you didn't have any field experience. And I was like, oh shoot. Okay. So then second day I get like an email, and it's like, this is where you're going to go. We would do big construction projects like student housing, dorms, apartment buildings, like the kind of the big buildings you see downtown here.
Yeah.
And I got an email, and it was like, you're going to Tallahassee, Florida, and we're building a dorm for Florida State University. And I was like, all right. And I remember I showed up on the job site with no tools, not even a hard hat. Like I literally had nothing. I was so unprepared.
Walk onto the site.
I was driving a crappy Chrysler Crossfire 2-seater. Like at the time, I thought it was a sweet car.
Wow.
Looking back, I'm like, that was a terrible car, and I looked so uncool driving it, And I remember pulling in the job site, and everyone just being like, who the hell is this guy,
They're all in pickup trucks, and you're in your Chevy.
I'm in like jeans and a t-shirt and like Converse, and I'm like, yeah, and it's like all pickup trucks. This little like Chrysler Crossfire, yeah. And I remember they gave me like a Home Depot credit card and a list of tools, and they're like, you need to go get all these tools and like high vis vest and like hard hat and goggles. And I remember putting that in the Crossfire, and it was just like scraping the road on the way back to the job site. And that was my life for like 2 years, a good solid year and a half to 2 years before I was like, I do not want to do this the rest of my life. I have a huge amount of respect for the trades and, firsthand experience seeing like how that world works, but it just wasn't for me. And I was like, from probably like week 2 of being on the job site, like truly plotting my escape, like how I was going to get off at this job site, like as if I was like escaping prison.
Plotting your escape.
Yeah. And
drawing everything up, a map of
how
it's going to go.
And I remember like on the job site, you have a lot of time to yourself. They, especially the big job sites, you'd get like a section. They'd be like, you're going to be on the 4th floor today. We're plumbing these units. We need you to, I'm new, so I'm not like doing at the beginning stages. I wasn't doing a lot of like the fun work of like actually putting fittings together and like plumbing a unit, like laying out, like all of the infrastructure. You're just like making sure guys have like their batteries charged and like plugging, cords in and moving fittings from like one room to the next and like keeping the job site organized and clean. Like it's very unsexy. And so I have a lot of time to myself. And so I have my headphones in, and instead of listening to music, I started listening to podcasts. And Gary Vaynerchuk, who's like a very, outspoken, successful individual in the world of social media and marketing, he had a podcast, and I would listen to his podcast every day and just got indoctrinated with like the world of social media and how it was affecting businesses, and if people didn't adapt to this, like their business was going to die out. Finally one day I was just like, I think this is something that I'm like really interested in. This seems like something that, it was like the Wild West at the time. Seems like something I could do myself with like little to no experience, and like teach myself in the evenings and the weekends and not have a college degree in it. And then I could just, basically I would have more knowledge, enough to be dangerous, more than like people who owned a business that didn't know anything about social media, and I could solve problems for them that way. And so that was what I quit my job to do. Again, like we're terrible planners. I quit my job with no job. And I was like, I remember in the exit interview with my foreman, they have to ask like, why are you quitting? Like, did we do anything wrong? Basically. and they ask like, what are you going to go do next? Like, what's your next job going to be? And I was like, I'm starting a media company. And they were like, you're going to start your own media company? You just worked construction for 2 years. Like, what the hell does this guy know? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, we're going to figure it out. And, it could be a terrible idea. And maybe I'll be back here in like a couple months and, picking up the wrench again. And thankfully I didn't. And, I thank God every day for that, like making that leap. And
7 years ago?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So where did you get the idea for the name Wave Media?
So the name came from my dad one time. I went to Detroit Catholic Central High School, but I lived in Pinckney, Michigan. So my commute to school every day was like 45 to 50 minutes one way. And I spent a lot of time in the car with my dad. My dad is a serial entrepreneur, has started and run a few different businesses over the time that I've known him, and like probably even before that. And he was always on the phone. Like I remember when he got a cell phone, it was the Nextel, like the beep, beep, beep. And like, it was so annoying. Like you'd just be sitting in the car. And then I remember when Bluetooth came along and he was just always I would sit in the car quietly to and from school and he would just be calling people like sales calls, marketing calls, operations. And so I'm just sitting there like taking it in. And I remember one time he was talking to another person on the phone. I don't really know. Like I never would ask a lot of questions. So I don't really know like, how the business was going. I just knew that he was always a busy guy at the time. And I think they must have been going through a tough time or like a transitional period. And he was telling another guy on the phone, like, business is like waves. And sometimes you don't know when they're going to happen. And you're just kind of sitting out there in the ocean, like sitting on your surfboard. But when you see a wave coming, you better start paddling for your life. And you better catch that wave. Because if you don't know when the next one's going to come. And you need to ride that. And so that was the way that in a nutshell that I kind of learned him thinking about business. And so when I was starting, I always remembered that quote, and he probably doesn't even remember that quote, like saying
so cool.
it. But so that's when I started my business. I was like, this is my, I don't even know if there's a wave coming, but I'm sitting out here and I'm going to start paddling, and like, hopefully a wave does come and like catch me along the way somewhere. And so that's where the name came from.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
It's a good story. Yeah.
Well, now you can share this with your dad. Let him know.
No, so I have told my dad, because my dad also asks me like, what the hell's the name with Wave Media? Like we're not on the ocean or anything, like, and I told him that story thinking he's gonna be like, oh, I love that. And like his response was like, I don't remember that, like, yeah.
That sounds like a dad thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that.
No, he doesn't. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So what are your favorite kind of projects to work on?
Favorite projects are...
And you don't have to say this. That's okay.
This is my favorite project.
You say that to all your clients.
I really like... hopefully he listens to this, but like I've really, really, really enjoyed working with Josh and Todd lately. It feels less like work and more like we talked about earlier, where you're just going in and hanging out with guys, and like they'll have their cast of characters is great. Like yourself, it's like very like warm, welcoming, like talkative characters that are coming in to get outfitted for like cool clothes, like awesome suits from fabrics from all over the world, like something I knew nothing about at all when I first started working with them. And I think that's kind of what's fun about the job. Like the camera takes you to all different kinds of places. It takes a special kind of person, but like for me, it would be like a disservice to what I like to do to just like pigeonhole that to like one character type of business.
Yeah.
I love getting to go to like all different types of businesses, and camera person, you really get like a behind the scenes pass into like how the business works, how they interact with customers. When
you got to shoot the Rocket Mortgage Classic,
yes,
right? Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so you get into a lot of areas that like people, work their whole lives to get that level of access. But just because you're holding a camera, like you just get waved right in, and I do kind of love that.
Yeah.
But I like that because it's a small business. the guys are always very transparent. I get to see like how the business works, but I also get to see them interacting with clients. And so seeing both ends of it is really fun.
Nice.
But events too. Like I love doing, especially golf, because like that's my background. I love doing the Live tournament. That was awesome. Rocket Mortgage Classic is awesome. It's a lot of work those weeks. It's just you're like all day you're on, and because you don't want to miss a moment. And so, and of course, like the moment that you like take a bathroom break or like put the camera down to eat lunch, like something really awesome happens. Right. And they're like, "Did you get that? Did you get that?" And you're like, "Yeah, we got that." You know, it's on TV somewhere, right? But no, those are fun. I don't know if I can talk about this because, well, it'll probably be out, by the time this podcast comes out. But I got to do a really cool project with Aiden Hutchinson.
I remember that was in the works, but it wasn't sure if that was actually going to happen.
He's like really into golf, and I didn't know that. And he was playing at the club that was one of my customers this past season, where I was shooting all the social content for the Cardinal out in Plymouth, and he was like trying to start a golf YouTube crossover channel for like athletes, professional athletes that are really into golf and like play in their spare time or in the off season, mostly football. And I guess they tried to just shoot it themselves, and it was like, it is hard. Like it turns out it's hard to do that and play golf at the same time. And so they were like, the head pro out there, Chris, huge shout out to Chris Johnson. He's been awesome this past year and truly just become like a really good friend. And he recommended me. He's like, well, if you guys are ever looking to try again and you want someone to just focus on the video aspect of it, like I have a guy that I work with and he shoots all the stuff here at the club. And they were like, yeah. So I got a random phone call one day he was like, hey, this is House of Hutch, his like clothing brand. This is the manager, brand manager at House of Hutch. And I was like, thought I was getting prank called, like one of my buddies from our group text. Yeah. And, he was a real person, and he showed up on the Zoom call, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And they told me about their idea. They wanted to film a YouTube golf channel and feature Aiden and then bring on some other athletes. And so I did it. We shot a pilot episode, but also like then we kind of stopped production because football season started. So it was like late in the summer.
So is this just like, we're going to try this pilot and then see how it goes, and then...
Yeah, and I got to show them like a sneak peek, and they liked it so far. So then, hopefully it leads to we get to do it again next season and do like, a good handful of episodes.
Yeah, that's cool.
But like that stuff is fun, and it's like you don't really...
Are you allowed to talk about that now?
I think so. Yeah, we can always cut if not. Yeah, it's not out yet.
So I don't want to get you. Yeah, I don't want to get you.
Don't go looking for it. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, know our last question.
Yeah.
Ryan, what is bringing you joy right now?
Oh man, my kids. Yeah. Being a dad, I have 2 little kids. So Blake is 2 years old, and Teddy is 6 months old, and it's a lot of work, especially like, my wife's just at home all the time. She's a phenomenal mom, and professional at home mom all day. So then by the time I get home from work, she wants a break, and I want to hang out with the kids. So it's a good switch. But the time just goes so fast. You're like, you get home and you're like, oh, I have like hours to hang out with the kids. And then it's like dinner, bath time, bedtime, day's over, and they're passed out. And you're like, oh, I feel like I barely got to hang out with them, Yeah. So I love like those moments, the weekends. In the morning, like Teddy is a terrible sleeper right now, so it's like sucks for my wife, but I love that he's up at like 5-6 o'clock in the morning every day. And so Teddy and I, like, I'll wake up with him in the morning and do the morning shift. That's cool. So I'll have like coffee and like Teddy time till like 8 o'clock or whenever I have to start getting ready to go to work. And I love that. Like,
those are fun ages. Oh, like bedtime and books and baths, the whole thing.
Blake's like just figuring out how to talk and like potty train and like all the fun things right now. And like, it's really fun when she says like a new word that you've never heard her say before. And you're like, did she just say a word? And it's like fluent, or like a small 3-word sentence. Like, where are you? And you're like,
and dude, I'm not kidding. Awesome. You're going to blink and she's going to be looking at colleges.
I know. I know it goes fast, and it's already gone so fast, especially like Teddy being 6 months old. I feel like there's no way that kid can be 6 months old, but like the second one, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but like the first one, you're like under a microscope and you're watching everything that they do like every minute of the day, and you're like terrified. The second one, you're like slightly less terrified, but it also just goes by so much faster because you're focused less on everything they're doing, and you're kind of juggling the both of them. And then all of a sudden you're like scheduling their 6 month appointment, and you're like, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that brings me joy. And like, I know we're going long, but the unknown of, I truly love the entrepreneurship side of growing the media company. I didn't think I would. Like I always thought I would just find someone else to do that part of it, and I would just be the camera guy or the production side. But I've really, really loved like fallen in love with doing like the sales and the networking events, and like, you know, keeping customers happy, and payroll when you work with other contractors. And like, I really love that side of growing the business, and like leveraging connections, and not knowing where the next sale is going to come from, but like the excitement of that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a real thing.
Yeah. It's very stressful, but I'm grateful for that stress, you know, because, you know, it could be a lot worse, and you wouldn't have the benefit of getting to stress out over those things if you're worried about other things.
I remember when I first started in the business, I was on my own. So it was all me.
Yeah.
Right? And then I moved back to join up with my dad, and I wasn't really anything, right? Like, it was his business.
Yeah.
I was out there learning the ropes, and it wasn't until we did our succession plan and Catalyst Solutions Group went live on September 1st, 2015.
Okay.
Where all of a sudden I had payroll, and I had bills,
Yeah.
and I had rent, and I had all these things. And while it was terrifying, it was also this strange, I feel like myself again.
Yeah.
Right? Which is kind of that sick, twisted entrepreneurial thing that's like,
Yeah.
you thrive on that, oh crap feeling.
Like I was telling you earlier, like every day it feels like I'm driving a car like 1,000 miles an hour down the expressway, and the brakes just went out, and you're like, you can't hit anything. You're like trying not to crash the car, and like, and like pull off the expressway, but do it all calmly,
right.
Like not freak out on anyone, and like, you don't want anyone to know that you're feeling that way, but like it does feel like that every day.
The old duck thing, right? Like, feverishly swimming under the surface.
Yeah.
Calm demeanor.
That's every day. Yeah.
And then sometimes you just need to have a moment where, you know, you just got to let it go. And sometimes it's okay to freak out.
Yeah. Well, Brendan, thank you for
that was awesome.
I know I'm here every time, but thank you for having me on. Yeah.
Thanks for wrapping that up, putting a bow on it, Ryan.
Yeah.
That was good. Thanks for being on here. That was awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much, Ryan Dewan, as I'm looking at him behind the camera as he records me on this outro. Thanks, Ryan. See, I'm not going to look at the camera. I'm just going to look right. This is the first time I can thank you personally as you do this. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on that episode of the Enthusiastic Life Podcast. I hope the mic can pick you up in the background. If you do, I got to give Ryan a plug. I refer to him as producer extraordinaire, but he is an amazing filmographer, videographer, and producer. If you'd like to check him out, he's Ryan Dewan on Instagram. You can find his company Wave Media on Instagram and online. They do fantastic work. He's a great human. Check him out if you're ever looking for any video work. Can't recommend him highly enough. He's also a great co-host for this. So thank you so much. If you enjoyed the episode, please give it a like, follow, rating, whatever you'd like. Share it with a friend. Thanks again for being here, and have a great day.